the script portion of the meeting? Okay. I'll just read the script to get us started. Good morning. For the record, I'm Chris Young, Chair of the HDC Sign Advisory Committee. Let's confirm access. Members, please respond with aye when I call your name. Paul Wolf.
Aye.
Kevin Kuster.
Aye.
Mark Catone.
Aye.
Okay. And Ben.
Mr. Chair, Ben is here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ben Norman.
Aye.
Hi, Ben. All right, staff, Kathy Flynn.
Present.
This open meeting of the SAC is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020. That order allows public bodies to convene remotely so long as public access to deliberations is reasonably provided. This meeting is convening via Zoom with video and audio recording, and we're being broadcast via YouTube on the town's YouTube channel. This meeting will feature public comment. Materials provided to members for the meeting or provided during the meeting are available on the town's website. During the meeting, I'll introduce agenda topics and speakers. Please remember to mute your Zoom audio until your name's called. Direct comments and questions through the chair to avoid crosstalk and make taking of minutes easier. And votes will be conducted by roll call. With that said, we'll move on to the meeting. Let's call it to order at 9 o'clock on May 25th, 2021. Do we have a motion to approve our agenda?
Motion.
Thanks, Mark. Anybody want a second? Thanks,
Second.
Paul. Kevin, are you in favor?
Aye.
Ben,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and Mark?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, how about, and I'm in favor as well. How about a motion to approve our minutes from 5/18?
So moved.
Thanks, Kevin. Thanks, Paul. Mark, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Ben,
Aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and Mark? Or, sorry, Paul.
Aye.
Thank you. I am as well. And is anybody on for general comment not related to an application? Okay, let's move on to our first sign application. That would be the Union Lodge, 30 Main Street. Is anybody on to represent this sign?
Good morning. I'm here, Sherry Ramus.
Hi, Sherry.
How are you?
Good morning. Well, thanks. What do we have here?
Okay, so these guys took over the Lion's Paw over where Butner's used to be. It was the Lion's Paw. Now it's going to be Cohen Company. So they told us that their projecting sign was already approved, but they also want a wall sign, which is what this permit is for. It's 6 inches. 8 feet, 8 inches by 60 inches.
Okay,
And it's
I don't
yellow
believe.
blue with white letters.
Gotcha. Let me just ask Kathy, did the projecting sign get approved for this location?
Not for this location, but we had an email exchange. I had asked if this was for a projecting sign or a wall sign, because a projecting sign was in the packet, and they said it was already approved, but what needs to be further explained is that they need to have it approved for this location. It was approved at a previous location. I just thought you were doing one sign. You didn't say you were doing two. So
No, this is for one. They told us that they've already done that process. That's the only reason we included it, was that they told us they've already done that. So I didn't understand from them that it was a previous meeting, previous location. They didn't say that.
I mean, I'm pretty sure. I would have to pull the file. I don't think it's on. I think it was before the pandemic, guys, right? I want to say.
I don't know.
I can't remember, because not everything is scanned. So
Yeah, I think it was up on Center Street, right? So we'd have to just look and see if that was an approved sign. Okay, I don't recall off the top of my head. Let's look at the wall sign
Okay.
If that's what's being applied for now anyway, then we could just say that they need to apply for the projecting sign. The only thing that we'd want to consider if we want to think about these together is that wall signs and projecting signs in combination will limit the size of one or the other. Typically, the projecting sign is the one that gets limited.
Correct.
So what is the size of the projecting sign, Kathy? Can you show us that?
Their existing sign is 28 by 28, just like that.
Okay.
It used to be mahogany with black lettering, and they're just having us refinish it to be Hamilton blue with white lettering to match the other sign.
Okay, so that's actually 5.4 square feet. The limit for a 2-story projecting sign is 5 square feet without it being in combination. When it goes into combination, it should be smaller. Just to let the let the board comment on this. The wall sign is smaller than it could be, but that projecting sign is actually larger than the maximum allowed, even for a solo projecting sign. So that should be just considered when they're thinking about putting that application in. Let me just go down the board members and see what everybody's discussion points are. Kevin?
I'm not sure if there's a, oops. Okay, I'm on. I'm not sure if there's a master sign plan for this building or not, but I'm curious as to what's going in the other side, if there's going to be a business or a sign there. I think it looks like there's going to be multiple tenants. It's not indicated exactly where the wall sign is supposed to go. That would be helpful. I'm questioning.
We submitted that.
Can I just finish, please? The wall sign, I'm curious what others think of the typography for that, but I think I would not consider those block letters, and I would not consider that sans serif font. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Okay, Mark?
I don't know that I have much concern with this, though. Just a point of clarification: are we only reviewing the wall sign, right? Even though I see this is like the double-sided sign is on the screen right now. Okay. Got it. Yeah, I'm kind of okay with it. I feel like it's very appropriate to the content of the store, and I know that's not really one of our key points of review, but I did look at the building the other day. There's 3 units, 2 large units in the center, and then a much smaller unit to the far right. And it looks like they will probably all have projecting signs or signage in general, but oddly, by comparison, I think this is a much more attractive sign than the one that's on the building today for another space, which I'm going to question later, but I don't really have concerns. Thank you.
Okay. Sherry, just to address what Kevin was asking, which unit of the 3 is this going on?
The first floor,
And
all
where
the
is
way
this?
to the left end on the, what street is that? Union Street side.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. And where is it being mounted exactly?
Right behind where that tree is. They want it right there behind, centered over that,
Okay.
that bank of windows.
Okay, so centered on that fascia, if you will, the wide band of painted wood
Yeah.
above the windows.
Yeah,
Okay.
correct.
All right. Got it. Okay, Paul, do you have any thoughts?
I think that's probably okay, what was just described. However, I think it's very important that we have from the owners a master sign plan. So that it looks to me like they're going to be 3 signs on the face up above, probably none by the door, and then someone's gonna want projecting signs. I think it's all gonna fall together before we can approve anything.
Okay, master sign plan for the building. And is this photograph current or is this before the renovation?
I
Because aren't
pulled it
there-
off Google.
Okay, because
I
I
think
believe now,
Yeah, it's not current, Chris.
no, there's 3 separate entrances now, correct, Mark? I believe they have
That is
3
correct.
doors.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
doesn't reflect the third tenant on the far right. It's been modified. Yeah, it'd be nice if we had a current photo.
Got it. Okay. Yeah, that would probably want to go along with the master sign plan, of course. Ben, do you have any thoughts?
I agree with Mark that the sign is appropriate in its design. I think size, it needs to be in the 5 square feet combined that Chris, you mentioned. I agree that we need a master sign plan for this entire building. And I'll just comment that this application to me doesn't feel complete. We really don't have a good view of where it's going in the file. It's being described to us, but you know, it's not hard to provide that information to us. So for me, I need a picture showing where it's going on the building, just for, you know, completion's sake. That should also be part of the master sign plan. So I think it will be approvable, but I think we need more information.
Okay. Yeah, so Sherry, I think being that this is going to be a new multi-tenant building with 3 spaces, the Masons ought to put forth an application that says, here's what we want our tenants to have as sign locations. For this application, it sounds like the wall sign is heading in the right direction, but the projecting sign, which isn't approved, has some potential issues. We don't know where the projecting sign would be mounted for starters, but it also it's larger than it should be, whether it was built larger than it was approved previously, or if it was approved at 28 by 28. In the other location, we could double check that, but now being used in combination with the wall sign, but also with 2 other tenants, which will likely want to follow suit with signage on the same facade, we should get a master sign plan that lets us see everything at once, so that those tenants can be aware of what their allowable sign locations and sizes will be. So do you have any questions, Sherry, or comments?
No, excuse me. I had a feeling that when they said that the projecting sign was approved, I'm like, I didn't question it, but I thought that was odd that they wanted us to do the wall sign when they said they already did the projecting sign. I just thought it was kind of funny. Why didn't they do both? But yes, they said it was hanging at their previous location, and now they just want it refinished in the same colors to match the wall sign. So is there a way to make the wall sign smaller to incorporate the whole size thing, or no? Is it just too big for the projecting sign?
It's actually the projecting sign. So when the guidelines say that if a combination is being used of a wall sign and a projecting sign, that it's the projecting sign that typically is made smaller. There have been some exceptions to that, and this is a smaller wall sign than it could be. So, you know, I would say that what they ought to do is come back. I think that if there's one projecting sign going on this building, I believe the other 2 tenants will, you know, will likely want to follow suit, but that's up to the Masons to submit a master sign plan that says, this is what we want our facade to be like. So I think that, yeah, there's going to be another discussion, I think, is what we're getting at, is that we need to see the building in its current design with the current, with the sign locations marked, and then we can see if this application will fit that master sign plan.
Mr. Chair?
Yes,
I
Kathy.
was raising my hand. I didn't know if you saw me.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to say one thing, first of all, for those who are listening, that I have to post the sign agenda tomorrow because we're closed on Monday. So just a little heads up on that if you need to get your revision in, if your application isn't approved today or recommended for approval. And secondly, our office is open and you can come in and pull the file. Most of the signs are not scanned, so you'd have to come in and pull the file and look at the previous location for the previous application. That's really the only way, because I don't have a database available to look to see if there's, other than my memory, which isn't that great, or any of the guys on the council, if they remember, but we are open to the public, so you can come in and pull the file and make copies if you so choose, if you need a reference.
Okay, thanks,
Okay.
Gabby. So let's make a motion on this to move on. Does somebody want to make a motion for us to vote on?
Sure, I'll make a motion. I just
Possibly hold for
First one.
revisions?
hello. Is this new person on for this?
Hello? You looking for me?
No, there was somebody else on the screen.
You're talking about me?
Uh,
There we go.
So Kevin, go ahead. Were you going to
Yeah,
make, did you make a
I just
motion?
want- Yes, I'll make a motion to hold for revisions, a master sign plan and accurate photograph. I'd also just like to add that since we have talked about the previous location, that in the previous location, this tenant had put lettering decals on their windows. I just want to let them know that that should not happen on Main Street especially. Anyway, with that, I'm going to make a motion to hold for revisions.
Second,
Thanks, Paul. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Mark
Aye.
and Paul,
aye.
Kevin,
Aye.
and I am as well. Okay. Thank you, Sherry.
All right. Have a great day.
You too. All right, so let's move on to 5 Center Street. Is anybody on from NIR?
Yep, this is Rebecca McCrensky. I'm the owner of the shop, Positivity. We're located at 5 Center Street. It's an NIR
Okay.
location.
Okay. And what are you applying for today?
Yep, so we're applying for a projecting sign. It's very similar to our old location sign on Center Street. There is a new rope detail as a border, as well as 2 anchors as new design elements, but the sign and the material is all the same as our previous sign. The measurements of the sign are 24 by 24. It will be wood, laser engraved, and we'd like to keep it natural wood this time.
Okay. Is the bracket existing that it's going to be mounted on?
It is an existing bracket and existing lighting as well.
Okay. And how is it the size of the bracket relative to the size of the sign? Have you measured, or do you have any?
I would have to confirm that for you. You know, it looked to me like it was about 12 to 18 inches, the bracket, but I would have to confirm that.
Okay. Okay, let me go down the board. We'll start with Paul.
Don't really have any comments.
Okay, Mark.
No comments.
Okay, Ben.
I very much appreciate the complete thorough application and the kind of whimsical design of the sign. I'm happy with it.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and Kevin.
Kevin's muted.
Kevin.
Sorry about that. I think the design of the sign is appropriate. However, I have a little concern about the burning of the wood for lettering. I just think that's a little strange. I don't know that we have any other sign that has burned in lettering. I think it would, on that space, it would probably be more appropriate in black and white or black and cream or something. That's my only concern. I think it's out of character with the majority of how our signs are produced. And I'd also add that in the previous location of this business, they also had signs outside of their business and dog bowl, or not, there were little signs and stuff on the sidewalk. So anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
All right. So does anybody want to make a motion?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Paul.
What does handcrafted in the USA mean?
So we actually make all of our dog collars, leashes, and harnesses in Lowell, Massachusetts. So they're hand printed in Chelmsford and entirely sewn in Lowell. We feel that's an important part of our brand, especially in our Nantucket location, that it's actually made in Massachusetts. So we'd love to highlight that on the sign if possible.
I'm not sure that there's a
Okay.
provision for that in the guidelines. That's why I asked.
Yeah, we haven't encountered, well, that's a good question. Does anybody else on the board have any other comments? Feel free to speak if you do. It seemed like we had some positive comments. Does anybody have a motion to make?
Go for it, Ben.
I'd make a motion to approve.
Second.
Okay. Kevin, are you in favor?
No.
Okay. Paul?
Aye.
I'm sorry, was that an aye?
Yes,
Okay. Ben?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And I'm in favor as well. So we will recommend that for approval at tonight's meeting with a 4-1 vote. So thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
All right. Let's move on to Ruben and 34, excuse me, 1 Old North Wharf.
Aye.
So Ruben, what are you applying for today?
We've had this same sign, the cherub on the horse, since 2008 on Nantucket from South Beach Street. So we are a new location. The space that we have between the door and the window, 22 by 18, fits perfectly. And it's a hand painted sign, local artist,
Okay.
and we just
And
love it.
this is number 1 Old North Wharf. Kathy, where is this located exactly? So this is,
Easy Street and Old North Wharf.
yeah, okay.
the
Yeah,
front's on Easy
This is-
Street.
yeah, it's across
Right.
from Beth English's place.
Vintage.
Yes,
Great vintage.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay, so this is the elevation facing the street, Easy Street, I'm assuming. Or
Yes,
is this the elevation that
Yes.
faces the back of the club? Okay. So it's just the 1 wall sign that you're asking for.
That's it, yes.
Okay. Let's go down the board. Ben, do you have any comments?
No, does it have a border on it?
The beveled, it's beveled, 1/4 inch beveled with the same color paint as the horse and the lettering.
Great, looks great.
Thank you.
Okay. Paul?
no comments.
Okay, Kevin?
No concerns.
Okay, Mark?
Yeah, I think this sign has traveled around downtown more than I have. No concerns.
I'm
Okay.
trying, Mark.
I agree. I think the sign is appropriate. So would somebody like to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Thanks, Paul.
Second.
Thanks, Mark. Kevin, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Ben,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
and I am as well. Thanks, Ruben. We'll recommend your
Thank you
sign for
all.
approval.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, we're back to Plymouth Sign Company. And Kathy, you had noted that the board wanted a master sign plan.
Yeah, so the applications that you all recommended for approval last week didn't really go anywhere because they wanted to see a master sign plan. And I did tell Mike that. I emailed him and let him know. So just so you know, so when it does eventually get approved, I'll put them on the HTC's agenda as a blanket approval.
Okay,
But he didn't submit his master sign plan this time around.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, I have a comment.
Yes, Kevin.
There has been some, I'm not sure how to say this other than it is. This applicant has carved some signs into the stone patio on the sidewalk or just inside the sidewalk. They say things like follow the path, gatehouse. I just find it very disconcerting that we've asked for sign plans. We've had this go through many times and to go walk down the site and see these carvings and these signs carved into the patio is just outrageous, I think. And I frankly don't want to see us waste any more of our time unless we know we have an accurate presentation with all the facts and all this stuff worked out, because this is taking an enormous amount of time and we're already starting out with violation. So I'm not sure where that goes, but I'm glad that the board held this up because this whole thing should be examined at a much closer point of view. I feel like our comments are not being listened to, and now things are being installed behind our backs. So that's the comment I have on this. Thank you.
All right, well.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Brad Guidi. I'm one of the owners.
Hi, Brad.
I thought it'd be helpful if I was here instead of the Plymouth Sign Company.
Okay.
I'd like to just address a couple of those comments. The sign, the carving on the flagstone, quite honestly, that's going to be hidden from the public. So we did not know that had to be reviewed from sign committee. My apologies. That honestly was not something that even crossed our mind. It's going to be behind a privet hedge, so it's for our guests. It's a wayfinding element. We had no idea that was supposed to go through sign committee. I'm happy to submit it, but I think we have indeed submitted a master sign plan since the beginning, showing the location of every sign. And quite honestly, I think we've at every turn I've tried to address the comments. I don't think anything that has been commented on has not been addressed. The only thing that we are asking for is to use our font as our main primary sign. And I think there's precedent in town. Veronica Beard, Lily Pulitzer, After House, the Seven Seas right across the street. They all use a different font on their building. That is really the only thing that we've been pushing back on. I think every other comment that has been requested has indeed been addressed. And I would love the opportunity to at least go through this presentation and show you that. We're opening this weekend and this is our third time in sign committee and we don't have any approved signs. And I'm quite frankly, I'm not quite sure why. I do take objection to the last comment that was just made.
All right, well, we'll go through the overall applications that we have. We have 5 applications before us. The fact that the master sign plan, this is close to a master sign plan. There is a format for submitting a master sign plan. This is frankly, a majority of what needs to be submitted. There should be a separate application that identifies the application as a master sign plan. I think that can be accommodated pretty easily. But as far as the pathway signs, would, whether they're hidden by a privet or not, there's still outdoor signage and visible by the public, meaning that you can't prevent somebody from entering that patio area and seeing the signage. So that would have to be applied for, as Kevin pointed out.
Mr. Chairman, would
But,
you suggest that we
Yes.
pull those up for now until we submit? I'm happy to do whatever it takes here. That was an honest mistake. We thought it was wayfinding internal to the hotel.
Right. Yeah, we'll go down and get everybody's opinion on that. I'm not even sure where in the guidelines personally they would fall, meaning that I'm not sure they're approvable per the guidelines because of it's a question of what kind of signage they would be exactly and how they would count towards the overall signage plan. But let's address, with due respect to you, Kevin, I just think we should go through these remaining sign applications so that we continue their process. Note that nothing will get approved by the full board. Our job is to recommend each of these applications to the full board. Sounds like they would not approve anything until a master sign plan is submitted. So Brad, like I say, you're pretty close to a master sign plan with slide number 5 that I'm seeing here. Just put an application in describing what each of the signs are. And I think that would probably satisfy the
Okay, so just to
the
be
full
clear,
board.
this is indeed the addendum to the application. So we've submitted it, just not in the correct process. Is that correct?
Yeah, a master sign, exactly. It would have its own sort of separate application so that the campus
Okay.
is identified as a whole. And then
Mr.
knowing that, yes, Kathy.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. You
Go for
can finish. I just wanted to clarify for Brad after you're done.
Okay, thanks. And what I was going to say, Brad, is that these pathway signs, for example, or any other menu boxes or kiosks or any signage that's visible outside of the buildings, whether somebody's on the sidewalk or in your patio space, would have to be a part of the master sign plan and applied for. So
Can
the
I
master
just-
sign plan needs to be complete.
As you can imagine, operating a hotel of this scale, there's things we're still learning. So something like a menu box, we're doing our best, but obviously things may change. Would we then addend the master sign plan? I mean, as far as we know, these are all the signs, but like as granular as a menu box, if that needs to be indicated, we just don't know. We've not operated this hotel yet.
Sure, yeah. If you find that you need to make an amendment, you can. You can always submit an application to amend this master sign plan. But just bear in mind that there's limits to how many signs are allowed, basically two to each business. So a menu box and a wall sign would max out that particular business. So
Understood.
just keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Kathy, what was your point?
Yes, I was just going to say, Brad, I emailed Mike a sample of a master sign plan. This is a master site plan, but you need the sign plan as an additional application. I emailed him a sample of one we just recently approved on Federal Street.
Okay.
And I also emailed the portion of the sign guidelines that explains the same thing.
Okay.
All right, so we can chat afterwards if you need some extra help with that. Okay?
Thank you, Kathy. I'm actually going to meet Mike today on site, so I'll discuss that
Okay.
with
All
you.
right, all right.
Okay. All right. Let's go through the applications that we have so that we can continue the process on those. So 11 India Street, revision to Roberts House, wall sign number 2.
I believe the request was to shrink the size.
What are we looking at here?
Yeah, this is the quarter board indicating the secondary entrance to the hotel, and I believe the request was to reduce the size, which we did.
Okay. Okay. And was this revised down to 42, which is what we'd asked for. So let's go down the board for comments. Paul, do you have any comments?
Paul, you're
Paul?
muted.
I'm sorry, I said so long as it's 42 inches, that's fine.
Okay. Mark,
No concerns.
Ben,
Yeah, I'm happy with the reduction in width, but it still looks like it's not centered over the door in that graphic. So it looks like it's halfway over that column pillar looking thing, corner board.
Ben, I think that's thank you for pointing that. I think that's a Photoshop error. It would indeed be centered over that door.
Okay, so as long as that graph is updated and submitted, I think we can approve it or recommend it for approval to staff with that update.
okay. And that could be done on the master sign plan, I would say, since that'll include locations. Kevin?
No comments.
Okay. So, and I also appreciate the reduction in size. I think it's appropriate, centered on the door. Does anybody want to make a motion for this particular one?
Motion to approve with the adjusted graphic per Ben's comments for location.
Okay,
Second,
thanks, Paul. And just as a matter of clarification, we're going to be voting these through, but then we all know that the master sign plan will need to be approved as part of the overall process. So we'll take a roll call vote. Kevin, are you in favor?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
And Paul?
aye,
Okay, and I am as well. Great. So let's move on to 29 Center Street, the faraway lettering sign. And Brad, you already sort of introduced your thoughts on this. But
Yeah, I think this is the one that we would really like to keep this font. Again, I took a stroll through town, and I think the precedent is set that there are a lot of businesses that use their own logos. I will point out Veronica Beard specifically, which is clearly not a serif font. And it is approximately this size hanging on the building in the same location. We did indeed remove that hanging sign that was previously there per your comments, and we did increase the lettering also per your comments. The only thing that we are asking you to considering is allowing us to use our font, our primary font for our hotel.
okay. Was there also a question about the material at one point with these aluminum letters versus
Yeah,
wood?
we've changed that to the wood letters per your request.
Okay. So let's go down the board. I'll start with Mark.
Thanks.
I see.
I'm going to ask maybe actually a question of the applicant. This is a comment Ben Norman brought up at the last meeting. Is there a gutter that's being wrapped around that porch? And I asked that as it relates to the original. There was a proposal for lettering on that fascia. But it was a little confusing relative to the rendering, relative to what we're seeing in the photos.
There is no gutter. Originally, when we rendered that, the fascia was shown at 8 inches. That's a 6-inch fascia, which means our letters would be about 4 inches. And honestly, for a 60-key hotel, it just seems like 4-inch lettering on your primary entrance is it's smaller than most quarter boards. And beyond that, our architect, Matt McEachran, is really the one who was suggesting we put it up there. He feels that architecturally, he liked how it filled the space. He likes how it is, a little quirky, like the Seven Seas Gallery across the street. Look, we're open to either. We do need a sign on our hotel, but it would be our architect's preference and ours to have it up top. And quite frankly, we like the architectural feel of it.
May I ask the size of the letters as proposed?
Yeah, they're 76 inches by 9 inches.
9 inches in height. So roughly 3 clapboards high.
And And they were increased per the comments last round. We
And-
did smaller letters previously.
Yep, and obviously there's a wire above it, so these will be illuminated with a fixture.
Originally, that wire was there to light the gallows sign. So at this point, we would use a different type of light to light the faraway sign most likely, or we would just bury the wire, just get rid of it.
Okay. I don't know that I have great concerns with this. The window spacing is a little odd on this building. It creates a natural gap. I do feel that the signage over the door might be a little diminutive for the scale of the structure overall. I think I would like to see the lighting that's been proposed. That should be part of the application if indeed they'd like to do that. The business obviously occupies all 3 levels. So I think second floor signage here isn't necessarily inappropriate. We do have hotels with second floor signage on the island. So I don't know that I have any concerns other than questioning the lighting at this time. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, can I ask, instead of, again, we want to do what the town would like us to do. Is there any suggestion
Okay.
of what you would like for see on the lighting? Because right now we're open to suggestions there. If not, we can certainly recommend something.
Kevin, I think Chris is frozen.
Yeah, I think so too. We got to get them a better signal.
Yeah. It's mid-island. You'd think you'd have a decent signal.
I know.
Kevin, you want to take over?
Sure. Where did we leave off?
Sorry,
Paul,
Brad,
you
we
were gonna comment?
lost Chris.
Paul, are you there?
I'm here.
you
I
have any
don't
comments?
really have any comments other than what Mark said. I agree with that.
Ben?
Yeah, I think we're back to where we were with the original application on these letterings, and I think at that meeting, none of us were really all that comfortable with it. I'm hearing that there's existing situations like this. I'm in town all the time. I walk around town. I know the 7 Cs, but I'm not familiar with this application. The applied lettering directly to the side of a second floor structure. If it's something that's common, please provide photos. But at this point, I'm not comfortable with this presentation.
Ben, would you be more comfortable if that was a large quarter board?
Maybe, but it's still a little unusual to be on the second floor like that.
Again, I walked around town this morning and photographed a bunch of this stuff, and there is precedent for both.
Yeah, so
Again,
I'd love to see those photographs.
I think we submitted them in a previous application.
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen that, so.
Okay, if we could just go through the board comments and
Sorry, on
and we
cue,
could
I
get
lost
your
my
feed-
signal there for a minute.
get your feedback at the end.
Paul, have you weighed in?
Yeah, Chris, I went through everybody. I have not said anything, and neither have you.
I'll go for it,
so.
Kevin.
You want to take over?
All right, sure. Hopefully I'll stick around. Kevin, go ahead and weigh in with your thoughts.
This is back where we started. I'm definitely opposed to the individual cutout letters. I don't think that's appropriate. I would be more comfortable in that location with a more traditional quarter board. I think this. Anyway, that may be a way to get a sign approved quicker for this applicant is to do something in a quarter board format. I don't think these letters are appropriate. They are still called out as metal, even at wood. I think they're going to look a little I just don't think that, I don't think they're gonna be noticed up there like everybody thinks, say, well, it's up high, it's behind that projecting porch. I also think we should look at this a little bit in context of that there's another sign coming up that was an addition from the previous visits to this, that is a name for this, that's on the corner of the Roberts house. If that sign is intended to go with this business, it should probably be located near this business. It's a little hard to understand that, where that fits, but that's my comment on here. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Kevin. I agree with Kevin on the fact that I think a quarter board would be more appropriate, easier to get approved. The faraway lettering. 7 Seas is the only example I can think of off the top of my head, aside from like Pacific National or more traditionally located lettering on fascias. And a quarter board, in my opinion, would be more appropriate. And in this location, even, I think there is precedent for second story locations. The guidelines offer the description of a second floor business having a sign up on the second floor, so it wouldn't be a stretch from the guidelines point of view. And the fonts, it's hard for me to see the font. I know it was the R, isn't it? The R that's sort of the unique letter in this this whole, Brad, am I right about that?
Yeah, it is. I mean, to me, there's a very traditional font compared to fonts like Dune or, again, Veronica Beard, which is not historically contextual at all. This has historical context. I just don't understand why this font is objectionable compared to other stuff in town. Lily Pulitzer is not, it's cursive.
Right, and there have been, you're right about examples of other fonts, there's no question. Perhaps when it was simply the letters and they were metal letters, it called a lot more attention to the font, since that was the entirety of the sign. Perhaps another reason why looking at this as a quarter board would be to your advantage. And it came up in the context of the flag sign, which was an inappropriate location. It really kind of came up in a very awkward package for us to review all at once. So stepping back and looking at it as a single wall sign, although I would like to see what Kevin was talking about with the other sign location, but I guess I'm trying to say a quarter board to me would be the most appropriate way to proceed with this application. So Kathy, can you show us, just so the board has a chance to see that, what does the other application look like?
You're talking about the projecting?
Um,
Oh, I'm sorry, Brad, is that the new one? Is it circular?
Yeah, so there was an existing sign. Obviously, this campus consists of 4 buildings, and there was an existing sign on the Roberts collection that projected out the corner. The hanging bracket is still there, and we would have liked to have reused that and put a new sign on there. It's part of this application, Kathy.
Yeah, it's a separate submission. It's number.
That's it.
Number 8 on your agenda, Mr. Chair.
And it is a separate building, but it's on the corner there. That's where the existing Roberts House sign was.
Right, there's an existing blue sign.
Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay, so let me just see where that circular sign. Okay. We'll keep that in mind as we look at this wall sign. And we'll be reviewing that in a moment. Does anybody want to make a motion of any kind, or are we going to hold for revisions to let this sign come back as a
I would make a motion to hold for revisions, encouraging the applicant. It sounds like they're open, and there have been some suggestions of the SAC for more of a quarter board approach versus the independent letters as submitted.
Okay. Before we get a second on that, actually, let me just follow up and ask the board to weigh in on the font, so that we don't go around a second, a third or fourth time. What is everybody's opinion of the font if it were on a quarterboard sign? Mark, do you have a thought on that?
I mean, they do appear to be block letters. I don't know that I have too much issue with the font style.
Okay. Ben?
The block letters are fine. The R is just a little funky. I think it's like a modern looking thing. I'm not sure where that's from.
And may I add, we're saying quarterboard, and I don't know that quarterboard in the traditional sense would have finials and such. And I think this came up in another application last week. I don't know that it has to be a quarterboard. I almost prefer not to see a quarterboard. I think it has to be just a board sign, horizontal format with the lettering on it in the traditional frame, painted and incised might be the way to go here in terms of the sign that comes before us. I don't know if Chris, you were implying a traditional quarterboard.
Correct. No,
or more of just a wall sign at that point that incorporates the lettering.
Right. No, good point, Mark. I'm thinking of something similar to what's been approved or recommended for approval on the other locations here.
Yeah, just
Thanks
for
for
clarity for the
clarifying that.
applicant. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. So, Paul, do you have any thoughts on the font, just so that we can address that before it comes back?
No, I think if it goes on a board, they might have to be a little smaller or tighter.
Okay.
Looking at the graphic here.
Okay, and Kevin?
Yeah, I guess I think the R is a little problematic from being a traditional block letter. Other than that, I guess it would be all right. I'm having a little hard time understanding, I guess, exactly what and where far away is. Is this the entrance? I'm hearing, I guess, that it's a hotel and this is probably the main entrance. If this is the main entrance, and why is there another sign on the corner? I don't quite understand what this is.
Can I clarify that? This is indeed the main entrance to our hotel. The hotel consists of 4 buildings. So as a guest, it is a little, the buildings were not built to be connected as a hotel. Obviously, they're historical structures, but they are being used as one complex, as the Roberts Collection was. Previously, guests checked into the Roberts building. We are now having guests enter into the center, which is now this building on Center Street. But there, as I said, there was a previous sign there, and I would think that since a sign hung there for years, it wouldn't be an issue to have another sign hanging there on the other building. Would it be possible to share my screen real quick, just so I can understand exactly what we want for this sign, so we don't go through another revision?
Sure, Kathy, can you?
Yeah, absolutely. I
do that?
hope that I have the settings so that you can give it a shot.
Great.
Oh, perfect.
So
And-
is this what we have in mind when we were talking about a quarter board? Because this was
I think
my,
yeah, Brad, let me just interrupt you. I think the idea of a horizontal formatted sign is what we were talking about, but as Mark pointed out, something probably without the scalloped ends, so that it relates more to the other horizontal signs that have been approved around the campus is what I think is what Mark was pointing out, and I would agree with. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that? Kevin?
No, I don't disagree with what you said.
Okay, Ben?
Yeah, I think a sign that matches the other buildings is a great idea.
Okay, Paul?
I agree.
Okay, and Mark?
Agreed.
Okay,
thank you.
great. Thanks, Brad. So,
I motion to hold for revisions.
thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Kevin. And Mark, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Paul?
Aye.
And Ben?
Aye.
And Kevin?
Aye.
And I'm in favor as well.
Mr.
Okay.
Chair, through you.
Yes, Kathy?
Brad, did you all decide to withdraw the projecting sign? Because I hadn't heard. Okay. then that's,
There's really not a good spot for it, so we removed that.
okay, all right, so.
Okay, so can that be withdrawn without prejudice, or should we vote on
Yeah, I
that?
just said no action taken. That's fine.
Okay,
You don't need to have a vote for that. If you can just, Brad, just email me saying that you request to withdraw it, so I can have it for the record. Thanks.
okay, great. We'll move on to number 7, which is the sister ship fence sign.
I think it would be best to just hold on this. We're constructing the courtyard now. So I think it would be really helpful just to hold on this until that's actually finished. So I can provide better photographs so you can see exactly where it's going to go. Admittedly, it's hard to visualize. And I'm fine with that if you're okay with that.
Okay, so Kathy, would that be no action taken as well, or would that be a hold
No,
for
yeah,
revisions?
they can hold for revisions if you want. Brad, there are several HDC hardscape approvals for this lot map and parcel. So as I said before with Michael, I would suggest coming into the department here and getting the approved, and you can deal with that. I think Mirka Ahern is your,
Mirka, correct.
so find out which one she is working on, and yeah, you can probably get it from her.
Yep.
And then, so that's the site plan that you should use for the fence application or for the
That's what
sistership.
that's what we are using here. This is the approved.
But it's a portion of it. It doesn't give the council a broad idea, and we was suggested that you use the actual approved site plan that's been reviewed by the HDC or approved by the HDC.
So until that becomes clear, it might be best for the master sign plan to not include that location, just so it doesn't get held up as because that has been sort of a sticking point for a conversation. Would you, Brad, that's what I would suggest, and then apply for an amendment later if that's going to take a while to get approved.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Does that make sense?
I didn't receive
Just so that
anything
it doesn't-
new. Sorry, Mr. Chair. I didn't receive
Yeah, no,
anything
that's
new
fine.
for that. It was identical to this. So,
Okay, yeah, because, and Brad, if you haven't listened to the conversations that we've had, or maybe you have, but the idea of a freestanding sign, or this is a unique sign that may or may not be approvable. So just to not have it tie up the whole master sign plan and in turn all of the other sign applications, it would be good to, in my opinion, separate it so that you can deal with it separately.
Okay.
and then one more thing, Mr. Chair, through
So
you.
let's, since you want to, yes, Kathy.
I'm sorry. So Brad, I'll send you an extension for that
Yeah.
application so it doesn't expire. Okay.
Kathy, would that be applicable if we remove it from the master plan?
That's a different. Oh, you just want to remove it altogether for
I
right now?
think that's what,
Okay. I'm sorry. I must have been daydreaming. Sorry.
Well, I'm just thinking procedurally so that it doesn't get held up at the HTC for what is this freestanding sign, so that the rest of the sign plan can be approved.
So you just want to withdraw it altogether?
Chris, isn't
Yes,
that kind of-
Kevin.
Chris, isn't that kind of the point of the board wanting to see the whole plan as to what they're all proposing? I think if you start peeling stuff away, they're not going to know. My only other comment on this is that a privet is not something that we use as something to screen signs or to screen posts. I know there was some talk about this trying to float in the privet hedge. I don't think a privet can be used as a wall surface is what I'm trying to say.
to be clear, it's not going on the privet hedge. There's two layers. There's a privet hedge that abuts the sidewalk. And then there's another layer of ivy wall. And that creates a pathway for our guests. This would be hanging on the ivy wall, not the privet hedge that abuts the sidewalk. This would be internal to the hotel.
Okay.
I don't understand, but
There's two layers.
Yeah,
There's a privet hedge on the sidewalk. Then there's then there's an actual path. And then there's an ivy wall. This creates two layers of green that our guests walk through. The ivy wall is internal to our property. And this sister ship sign would be on the ivy wall itself, not the privet hedge on the sidewalk.
and does it just hang amidst the ivy, or I don't.
Correct. Yes.
So there's wire and there's a fence in there essentially.
Yeah, the way the ivy wall works, and there's one at the Graydon House. They're grown actually, I think in Canada, and they're going to be up in the next day or two. They come out with ivy growing on them, so the fence itself is hidden, and it looks just like a wall of ivy. And the sign would be attached to the ivy itself.
Wow.
Okay, so are we going to hold this for revisions then? As we don't really have a complete understanding of like Brad, you were saying you were going to resubmit this with more detail.
I would just suggest, I was trying to be helpful and suggest that we're installing the courtyard, and by the end of the week, it would be complete, so I could get some better photographs for you. And I was just trying to be helpful because I know,
Okay,
to Kevin's point, there might be some confusion on the actual assembly. of
right.
this.
I think that might be helpful to be able to visualize it, do a site visit. Let me just go down, since we're on this, it is the item up for discussion, and see if any other board members want to weigh in. Mark, do you have any thoughts on this?
What's the question? Sorry. I've been kind of running.
Just do you have any thoughts on this sistership sign, aside from waiting for a site visit condition, which might be possible later in the week?
Yeah, it sounds like we're just holding it. I honestly, I think we questioned the color of it. I didn't have as much concern with this. There's definitely some head scratching about the armature. It's a little reminiscent of the steamship wharf sign that floats in the privet down along Francis Street. Kind of interesting. So I think maybe if they have the courtyard in place later this week, we'll have a better understanding. It'll be a more productive discussion later on. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Ben?
Yeah, I've always found this sign really attractive. And I think if we get a better understanding of this ivy wall, it sounds like the ivy wall is more like a fence built to hold an ivy. I think it can be executed appropriately. I just think seeing a little bit more reality of how the ivy wall fence works is going to help. But I love the little sign. I hope we can make it work.
All right, Paul?
I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay, and circling back, Kevin, do you have any additional thoughts?
No, I think this kind of goes hand in hand. I mean, I've seen photographs of the stone walkway, so I think all this stuff I think there's a lot of stuff going on in this courtyard that we don't quite know yet. So I think waiting for it to come together will be helpful.
All right. Yeah, I'm curious to see what it all looks like. If it's applicable as a fence sign, that would be obviously a lot more attractive than reviewing it like a freestanding sign, which would make it inapprovable. So let's wait and see. So a hold for revisions would be the appropriate move, I believe. Does somebody want to make that motion?
Make that motion.
All right, thanks, Ben. We have a second.
Second.
Thanks, Mark. Kevin, are you in favor?
Aye.
And Paul?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
All right, great, thanks. All right, let's get to the circular sign that we discussed earlier. So one thing, Brad, I would say off the top, 30 by 30 is going to exceed the size restriction for a projecting sign. If I do the math on my phone here, that puts it at 6¼ square feet, where a 2-story building would have a 5 square foot maximum, just to start the conversation with that. But is there anything that you want to comment on, Brad, beyond what you've said already about the campus feel here?
I don't think so. Just that this was an existing sign for decades.
Okay. Let's go down the board. Paul, do you have any thoughts on this?
I'm not sure again what the sign means. And if it's related to the building down Center Street that we just talked about, that sign ought to be on that other building, not on whatever this one used to be, the Roberts House. I don't think it's appropriate.
All right, Ben?
You know, the sign, the Roberts House sign that was there for so long was just big and blocky and ugly. So I like the circular. I think it does need to conform with the size per our guidelines. I like the round. I like the graphic. I don't know how. I think we typically don't like Nantucket written on the sign. If I stand to be corrected, I'm happy to hear it. But usually we don't there's no reason to write Nantucket because you're already here. Again, if that's part of the name of the hotel, then that's a different story. But if we can get it down to the right size, I'm fine with it.
Okay, Mark?
Just refresh my memory again. What's the sign we've approved tentatively on the porch? Yeah.
It says Roberts House. It's a quarter board that says Roberts House. So in essence, each building still maintains its original name. So when you check in, you would get a key, and the attendant would say you're staying in the Roberts House. So you would have to go look for the Roberts House, or you're staying in the Meeting House, Skate House, or Manor House.
Yep. So far away is the entire campus.
Far away is the entire campus.
And then we have these individual buildings with their names.
If you remember correctly, the building, the old hotel name was actually the Roberts Collection.
Yeah.
And that building was the Roberts House.
Got it.
So
yep. I probably with Ben, I don't know that I have concerns as long as it comes into compliance. I'm less concerned about the Nantucket. I think that is part of the name. So it's like Nantucket Bikes. We don't make them take Nantucket off of it. Far away, Nantucket is, I think, what is the Indian name for faraway land. So I get it. I think it's, so I have really no concerns other than if there's a size compliance and there is a reduction required, but I'm okay with it. I guess there's a question, is there any lighting proposed for that location? No. Okay.
It's on the building.
And the bracket, we're seeing obviously two different brackets. Is the bracket that's shown in the graphic the one proposed, or will it be a recycling?
I think we would just keep the bracket that's shown on
there. Okay, and I think that's probably more appropriate. Those are my comments. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Paul?
Uh,
I already commented.
I'm sorry.
I'm not sure that tells me that there's a campus, 3 or 4 buildings. It's going to confuse people. What's the Roberts House?
I think if you're staying at the hotel and you're going to check in and you're walking from the boat and you're looking for the faraway, this would tell you you've reached your destination.
Okay.
That's the idea behind it.
Yeah.
Okay. So Kevin, I meant to get to you.
Yeah, it's an interesting description because yes, you found your destination, but the door is halfway down the block. So I just don't know that this helps people find where they're supposed to go. Anyway, as far as the sign goes, I think the smaller size is more appropriate. If I remember right, when the Roberts Collection redid that sign a number of years ago, they increased the size without getting an approval. So that's why it was so big to begin with. I question a little bit the thickness. It seems, I don't know if it just feels like an inch thick is, it feels like it's going to be a real thin slice floating up there, and it maybe should have a little more dimension to it to give it a little more substance. I guess that's my comment. I still feel like it's somewhat inappropriate from the point of view that it doesn't help people get to where they're going if they're supposed to walk into the faraway front desks. They're not there. So anyway, that's my comment. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of echo everybody's thoughts. I agree with you, Kevin, that Roberts House sign grew without approval when they repainted it or remade it years back. So Brad, just to give you a point of reference, 26-inch diameter would be the appropriate maximum size. But given that there's been a sign in this location, I'm not opposed to there being a sign here. I just, I agree it might be misleading, but if it is on the campus and it's a previously approved and appropriate sign location, I'm not sure I have a whole lot to say about the content of the sign. So I would see a 26-inch round sign being approvable here. The thickness, agreed, 1 inch, and you're carving both sides, you might not have much meat left on that. So you might want to consider making it thicker, but that's more of a something for you to consider, Brad, and the sign fabricator. Do we want to make a motion? Does anybody have a motion they'd like to put forward? Am I hearing anything besides crickets?
I'll make a motion to approve at 26-inch diameter and 1.25 inches thick.
Okay,
I'll second.
thanks, Ben. Thanks, Mark. Kevin, are you in favor of that?
Aye.
And Paul?
Aye.
And Ben?
Aye.
And Mark?
Aye.
I am as well. Okay. So Brad, that concludes all the sign applications we have for you today.
Great.
Brad,
Yes.
sorry, before you leave, this meeting will be available for view probably in about half an hour after the meeting. So so if you need to go back and listen to the discussions, they'll be available for you, okay?
Great.
And I can send you the link, right?
I appreciate everybody's time and comments, and looking forward to revising these and resubmitting.
Great. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you.
All right. Kathy, you'd sent out, well, first of all, on enforcement, is there anything that you wanted to discuss?
I sent out today an email for Nantucket Behavioral. Actually, what was it? It was the freestanding sign that Kevin sent me. I went down and took a picture of this yesterday on my evening walk of the car at Handlebar. So I'll send them out. And also Mark also sent me a lovely picture of a sign with illumination on Center Street. That was part of my walk last night.
Is that the neon one?
It is.
Yeah, that thing's bad.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
So working overtime, going downtown, taking pictures.
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
That's about it, I believe.
The other, and is there a timeline when, if June 15th comes and the emergency is lifted as far as the governor is concerned, does that mean that other restrictions like or guidelines like these signs don't need to be applied for, gets lifted as well?
They should be applied
Do we
for. I just think we're just gonna have a mess. Right at the very beginning of all of this, they did, like Matt Fee mentioned at one of the select board meetings, that they can use umbrellas with logos, but when the order gets rescinded, they'll have to comply. But now we're facing into the season and they've already have these, so I don't know how you all want to tackle that. I mean, enforcement will be available.
I thought my understanding is that the governor's giving 60 days
Okay.
post. I need to confirm that, but I believe the restaurant industry has 60 days to come into compliance after the emergency order is lifted, which would take them into August. And so what I'm hearing not only in Nantucket but elsewhere is that restaurants are saying, wait a minute, we're right in the height of our season and we've invested all this money in outdoor dining and now you're going to take it away from us in August. So I believe legislation is being filed to extend that to complete the season as a fairness to the restaurants. So how that dovetails into signage compliance is a question. Does that mean, I guess if that gets extended, I feel like, I hate all of it, but I feel like there's some expectation that signage will remain in place as long as the extension is, if there is an extension beyond the 60 days, until that expires. And then I think everybody would have to come into compliance. I mean, that's Mark Tone's 2 cents in opinion, but I've been thinking about it because I'm curious, because there's a lot and it's terrible. And I do look forward to, you know, the cleanup, and it's going to be a process because not all of it's going to get cleaned up overnight. That's for sure. So thanks.
Thanks, Mark. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. There were a couple other things that you sent us, Kathy. Discussion of Article 82.
Yes, Kevin had asked me.
And
to-
Kevin, that's yours, right? You want to talk about that,
Sorry.
Kevin?
Oh,
Yep,
get
that's
out of
mine.
this. Sorry about that.
I believe I've chatted with most of you about this article previously. And I'm coming back today to see if I could get an endorsement from the sign advisory. I presented this to traffic safety and to the Historical Commission, both of which have offered positive endorsement. And it's pretty simple. Its goal is to minimize the size and the number of warning signs out on our roadways. And that's kind of the basics of it, and it's pretty straightforward. So I'm happy to answer any questions, and would be very grateful for a positive endorsement. And I'm going to have to recuse from this. I don't know if I have to, but I will.
Kevin,
I have no financial interest in this.
Is this
but
in,
anyway.
if I may, Kevin, is this sort of in response to Milestone?
Yes.
And mostly, and I'm sure others as well, but.
Yes, what's interesting is that while this article will not prohibit these kinds of things on a state highway, we're working on a possibility that we may be able to go back to the state and argue that some of these things should be removed because it is in keeping with our historical character. So that's a step down the road, is to get some more of those removed, specifically to Milestone. But this was hopefully to help get us more control over things that are going to be happening on Sparks and Pleasant and all of that kind of stuff. So
yeah, I without knowing all the nuances of what you're proposing, but knowing your conservative nature, Kevin, I'm going to be in favor of this. It's funny this should come up today, because I was driving into work today looking at Milestone, and it's such a shame what a forest of signage that we now have on that road. Which I find to be so unnecessary. So yeah, I think anything that we can do to prevent that sort of thing from happening, or ideally even improve those situations that have already transpired, I appreciate your efforts.
thank you.
All right, Ben, do you have any comments?
I vote, it'd be my position to support Kevin's efforts with this article.
All right, and Paul?
I would agree totally with Kevin. I don't know what we're being asked to do, but I agree.
So,
with it.
all right, I think they want to see if they can get an endorsement. The citizens warrant article is going to go before town meeting with endorsements from the 2 other boards that Kevin mentioned, looking to see if we will endorse this as well. So a motion would be a motion to endorse the citizens warrant article number 82 for town meeting.
I would make that motion if it's appropriate for us to do this type of thing.
Kathy, is it within the other boards have done this? Is it within our purview to do this, or should this be an HDC full board sort of
This is my first time
maneuver?
running into this, so maybe if you all just want to vote for a recommendation for approval, and then I'll circle back with you if the commission has to.
Okay,
also.
yeah, we could send it up to the board for their,
Yeah.
we could send it to the HDC tonight to
Well,
endorse it.
I don't
with
know if
our
I can.
support.
It's not on the
Or no.
agenda, so it might have to wait till I just posted Thursday's agenda.
Okay.
I'll circle back with everybody.
Okay.
So do we need a
Well, so
motion?
do we have a motion to endorse if it's within our purview?
moved.
If not, to request the HDCs? Okay.
Second.
Do we have a second? Thanks, Mark. Ben, are you in favor?
Favor?
And Paul,
Aye.
and Mark,
Aye.
and I am as well. So Kevin's recusing, so unanimously we endorse this article.
Thank you very much. We just need your votes at town meeting.
Okay. Do we want to discuss the sign guideline update? Or should we hold that?
Let's see.
I didn't do anything on the overall guidelines. I think that's kind of a placeholder on our agenda, but I did incorporate Paul's corrections into this, and I guess we can do with it what we want.
This is regarding the construction site signs, correct,
Yep.
Kevin? Okay, so that's the next item. Let's pass over sign guideline update. Discussion of the construction letter. So I guess this is the proposed revision that we were emailed. Is there any discussion on this? And do we want to vote on drafting a letter to send this new guideline? Well, actually, Kevin, what exactly changed in this? Could you just tell us what is new here?
Oh, if I remember correctly, it was I think it was a grammatical correction from Paul. That's what I
Okay.
recall.
Paul, do you recall what we were talking
I
about?
have no idea.
Okay.
But if it's right,
All right.
it must have been.
All right, so technically, we've been talking about trying to send a letter to the Builders Association, which we don't have drafted. We do have the construction site sign section that was given to us. Do we want to hold this for drafting a letter and further understanding? Does that seem appropriate?
I'm not sure who was originally asking for the letter, but maybe it could just be, this could just be attached as, you know, as a short memo. Here's the update kind of thing.
Right. I think we just, Kathy, we've never drafted a letter.
No, you haven't.
We don't have anything
And
ready to send.
yeah, pre-pandemic, can you hear me?
Yep.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't know if I was muted or not. Let me see if I can try to find. Pre-pandemic, Leslie had a conversation, well, via email with the Builders Association, like, oh, you know, don't forget, we're trying to avoid enforcement and just trying to bring everybody into compliance. And then it kind of fell off everybody's radar. And she had a meeting over the last week with them, and I didn't know. Oh, sorry.
Maybe just forward this on to Leslie and see if it works and what else she needs.
I did, and I haven't had a chance to circle back with her either, but that was just, yeah, it was in August. I don't know if you can read the email or not, but
Okay.
I don't know if yeah, we're just trying to avoid sending out all these citations. So there's really nothing in the guidelines for contractor signs, so. And that's where you all stepped in to propose an addendum to it. So
Okay.
would it be easier, would you prefer to speak with, invite one of them to the meeting? Would that be?
We could, although I think a letter, if we wanted to draft a letter to the NBA Board of Directors and just submit it for approval at one of our meetings, I think we could fire that off. And looks like they're amenable to sharing it with the membership. So if they voted unanimously to support our effort, it looks like. So if we send them a letter, maybe they'll include that to all their members. That would be great.
So send a letter and then the addendum that Kevin just drafted?
Yeah, I
To
think
them.
so.
Okay.
Chris,
So yes, Paul.
do we have to have the HDC board approve the changes to our guidelines?
What, I think if this were going to be a full-on guideline change, I believe we would have to advertise it, and go through all that kind of stuff, which I think we want to do it, in conjunction with other changes. But I think we could position this as a guideline for
Okay.
contractors and then incorporate it at a later date.
Well,
into
it
the
falls under
guideline.
the category of enforcement.
Yeah,
Okay,
Yeah, and this
fine.
exists, correct? In the current approved sign book, this language exists, correct? There is a construction and site sign section. Am I wrong?
there's a
about that?
section, but this language is new.
I see. Okay.
Clarification.
Okay. So we can do a carefully crafted letter that says, in the effort to avoid enforcement issues or something along those lines, here are the
Yeah, updated
guidelines that should be
guidelines.
followed. Yeah,
Okay,
okay. So we'll hold that for drafting that letter. And then Paul, to your point, we probably should just send it up to the board so they have a chance to approve it at that night's meeting so that, we have their endorsement, I suppose. But let's draft the letter first, approve it, and send it to the board for their endorsement. Does anybody have any other thoughts on that? I'll just open it up without going down by name. No? Does anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Okay, Paul. Thanks, Mark. Ben, are you in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And Kevin,
All right.
Mark,
Aye.
and Paul.
Aye.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everybody.
All right.
have a
Thanks,
nice
everyone.
long weekend, you all.
Yeah,
Oh,
you too.
yeah.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Kathy.
Bye. Thank you.